Hello, Grumo here, and in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to create a private chat app with Glide. Glide offers you a component called Comments or Chat. The problem is that the chat is global to all the users. So if you want to be able to chat privately with unique users, you need to create your own logic to do so. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in this tutorial. First, I'm going to illustrate what is the problem with Glide's default comments component. So if we go here to this tab called public, we can see there is a component called comments, which comes in two flavors, comments and chat. For this tutorial, we're going to use the chat version of it. Now, this is a public chat, which means if I am logged in as John in this case, I can say, I'm John. But if I log in as Mike, I'm Mike. Now let's pretend I am Anna, and I can say I'm Anna. We can see everybody's chats regardless of how we're logged in, right? Either Mike, John, and Anna, they're all seeing everybody's chats. So how can we set up the logic so the chats are private and only seen by the two people that are chatting with each other? So what we want is the ability for each user to privately chat with whoever they choose to. So let's say that Mike wants to chat with Anna alone. He will click on Anna's profile and say, hello, I'm Mike. And then Anna will get Mike's message. There you go. And then she can replay, hello, I'm Anna. There you go. Now let's say that Mike wants to chat with John. Hello, I'm Mike. And now he's talking to John this time. But as you can see, if we go back to Anna's profile, Anna is not seeing that conversation because now the conversation between Mike and John is private. She could start her own conversation with John. Hello, I'm Anna. And Mike is not seeing that conversation. So these chats are private. And now I'm going to show you how to do the logic to accomplish this. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is to create a typical public chat. So to do that, we just go to data and then we're going to create a new table and we're going to call it messages. Okay, and for the chat to work, we need some default columns, and one of them is going to be a timestamp column. And it's going to be of the type date. All right. And then we're also going to need the sender's ID. So the email of the person that is sending the messages. So it's going to be, we're going to call that sender ID, and it's going to be of the type email. All right. We're also going to need a column for the actual message. It could be of the text type. Okay. And then we also can have the sender's name and photo. And for that, we need to create a relation back to our users table in order to grab that. So for that, we're going to create a user relation. All right. And it's going to be, we're going to relate the sender ID, which is the email of the person sending the message, to the users table email. And then we have that. And now we can grab the name and photo of the person sending the message. User name, a lookup column, and we're going to use our newly created relation to grab the name, and the same thing for the photo. There you go. Perfect. And if we can test it right now with my email here, see if the relation works, and you can see it's grabbing my name and photo. Perfect. Now we can delete it, and we can create a public chat really quickly by just adding a new screen from data, messages, deleting the existing collection, adding a comments component, which is also the chat component, and we can switch it into the chat style. And then it already populated the correct columns. So it's the messages that are being sent are saved under the message column. The display data is the message, the timestamp, the user photo and username, and the author email we're saving under sender ID. And then we're going to also save for each message the timestamp, which is going to be the current time, and the sender ID, which is the currently logged in user email, which is also stored on the app's user email. Okay, that means now we have a fully functional public chat. We can test. Hello, I am Mike, and if I logged in as any other user, now I'm logged in as John. Hello, I'm John. And just to show that this is a public chat, hello, I'm Anna. You can see we're seeing everybody's messages. And what we want to have is one-on-one private chats. To create private chats, we need to create a new table where we're going to store each chat independently, right? We're going to call these chats. And the chats table is going to have a reference to the two users that are chatting between each other. So we can edit this and call this user A. And we're going to store the email address of user A. And we're going to have the same thing for user B. Okay, so now we have a place where we can store a reference to each of the users that are having this private chat, but we also need a unique identifier for each chat. And for that, we can use the row ID computed column, which allows us to create unique identifiers for each row in our tables automatically. Okay? The next thing we're going to do, and this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky, but really interesting, is we're going to create an array where we're going to store the email addresses of both people in the private chat. And for that, we can use the make array computed column. And we're going to add user A and user B. And now we have an array that contains both users. And we're going to populate this with me, right? Just as an example. And Anna's email, right? And now that array is going to be used. And the reason why we need to do this is so we can relate to this table and find which chats have been created. You're going to see that in a second. So to do that, we're going to create a query column, which is what I'm going to call find chats, basically. And it's going to be a query column. Query columns are very powerful. You're going to see right now. I'm going to, inside the chats table, I want to find out which chats I belong to. So to do that, I go to the chats table as the source, and then I'm going to filter by both users, me, inside the array, because the chat works both ways. Whether I am user A or B doesn't matter. It has to be both ways. So I need to find myself whether I am included or contains my email address, so the currently logged in user email, and for it to be a private chat, the other person has to be there, which in this case would be under the array, inside the array. It also contains the current rows, so this row, email, okay? And that condition in this case is only met between me and Anna, and as you can see here, that is correct. Whether I'm logged in as me or Anna, right now I'm going to log in as me, you can see that it found a chat that meets the condition where either A or B contains both email addresses of the people that belong to that private chat. And this is kind of like the trickiest part to understand. But once you have that, now you can start creating private chats. So how do we create private chats now? Well, we can go to layout and then create a new screen from data. It's going to be users. And here we have all the users. Okay, but I don't need to see myself because it would be weird to chat with myself. I just want to list the people that I could have private chats with. So under options, I can filter the data and basically remove any users that have my email address, so myself, basically. So is currently logged in user email. Okay, it's not, sorry, it's not. There you go. And now I can either chat with John or Anna. The problem is if I click on any of these users, I'm taken to their profile. I want to be taken to that private chat. And for that, I need to create a relation to that chat, so I can navigate to it. And inside here, I will be able to create a new chat component that only contains the chats between me and Anna in this case, or any other user. So for that, I'm going to have to create a relation from the users table to that specific chat row. Okay, how do I do that? Well, I'm going to call this chat ID. And because I've already found the chats that are private, I can look up under that relation and grab the row ID of that chat. And now I can create a chat relation to just that chat ID. Okay, I'm going to grab the chat ID and it's going to match the chat row ID. And now I have created that chat relation. So I can change the behavior of the click on this collection, which right now is taking me to each user's profile. I want to navigate to the chat relation, specific chat relation. So how do I do that? I can go to actions and enable advanced actions, and I can change the behavior of the item click by switching this to a custom action, right? Which I'm gonna call chat start. And then I could just go here and simply navigate to the relation, right? And that would take me to the relation. Now, the problem is that by default, the first time we chat, that relation doesn't exist because that chat hasn't been created. So I have to check first whether the relation exists. And for that, I need to add a condition that is going to look at whether the relation, the chat rel relation, is empty. If it's empty, that means that the chat is the first time it's being started, and therefore I have to create that new row inside the chats table. And to do that, I am going to create a data add row. So I'm going to add a row inside the chats table, right? Where I need to capture my email address and the person that I clicked on, that person's email address as well. So that would be my email address. And then the user B would be the email address of the person I clicked on, right? So the first step before I navigate to that relation is to create that chat, and then that relation will exist, and then I can navigate to that. And if I want, I can even create a little notification saying chat started, okay? Now, the second time I click on that user, that relation has been created, therefore I don't want to duplicate it. And what I would need to do in that case is just simply navigate to the chat rel relation, okay? So let's see, let's just start from scratch. Let's delete the existing chat and see if this actually works. I'm going to click on Anna, and there you go. We've been taken to the relation, to that specific relation for that chat. And we can see that it's correct. We have the email addresses of my email address and Anna's email address. Perfect. And that's been detected as a chat, as a private chat. And if I click a second time, instead of duplicating the chat, let's do that, we can see that we only have one row. Therefore, we've navigated to the chat relation without duplicating it. And this is exactly what we want to in order to now create the chat component inside this relation and have a private chat, okay? So now let's design the chat page, the private chat page. We can delete the default components. And here, what will we have? We will need to add the chat component, but we want to make sure we're only grabbing the messages that belong to these two users. How do we do that? Well, we have to go back to data, and we have to be able to identify which messages belong to that specific chat. Therefore, each message must have a unique identifier that matches the chat row ID, that the unique identifier for that chat. That means we have to create a new column, which is going to be called chat ID, okay? And we can delete the existing messages here. And then we can find the messages that belong only to a specific row ID or chat ID by creating a relation, right? So it's going to be called messages rel, and it's going to be a relation that is going to match multiple, because obviously a chat can have more than one message. and we're gonna match the row ID, so the chat ID in this case, with the chat ID and inside messages, okay? Once we have this relation, we can create the chat component that only pulls the messages that belong to those two users, okay? So I'm gonna go to layout, and I'm going to change the title to, I don't know, private chat here if you want to. Okay, and we're gonna add a comments component, which is also the chat component. And you can see it has already, as the source is using the messages relation, which is great. And now, like we did before, we're gonna change this to chat, and we're gonna save the messages under the message column. And the author email, again, is going to be the sender ID. The chat ID is going to be the row ID of the current chat. The timestamp is going to be now, and the sender ID is going to be the app's user email. And we've created a private chat. All right, so let's test this chat. I'm gonna start as Mike talking to Anna, because I selected Anna here. There you go. So let's say I wanna say hello. Hello, I am Mike. Okay, perfect. We can see that the data that is pulling is not correct, so all I have to do is under display, the text should be the message. Okay, and everything else should be okay. User's photo, author name should be username, and everything else looks great. So if I logged in as Anna, she can see the message. Hello, I'm Anna. There we go. And you can see that if I go into John, we're not seeing any of the messages. If you go to the public messages here, we can see that we can see all the messages. So if I were to log in as John here, and then go to the private chats, I could chat with Anna too. Hello, I am John. And if I log in as Anna, she would be able to see that there is a message from John and a message from Mike, and they are private. So that is the main functionality. We've created a private chat that works. The next thing is optional and it's more like cosmetic. Let's say that instead of comments here, you want to say chat with Anna, so you know who you're chatting with. And for that, we can go to the chats and we can add a new column, and it could be the other user ID, and we're going to create a conditional column that is going to check that let's say, for example, user A, if user A is the currently logged in user, then show me user B, otherwise show me user A, and that way I'm always showing the other user, right? And the reason I want to do that is because that way now I can pull the other name with so we can create a relation to the other user. All right, to the other user ID, user's email. Okay. And I can grab the other name. Okay. Use a lookup column and then grab the other person's name, and I can create a template column. Chat, I can call that chat title, for example, and that would be a template column where I can say chat with X, where X is the other person's name. Okay, something like that. And I can change the comment component title to the newly created template column. And then you can see how whoever I'm chatting with, let's say I want to chat with John, now it says you're chatting with John. Okay, so this is just cosmetic, but you know, something cool to have. The final thing we may want to do is to display a little snippet of what was the last message, which is typical in chat apps inside the user list here. And for that, we can go to the users table and grab all the messages of the chat that we've created with whoever are we chatting with, and we could call that messages rel, and we're going to use a relation column that grabs the chat ID, the private chat ID, right? And we match it here to the messages table where that chat ID. And basically now we have a list of all the messages, right? In this case, 2 messages between Mike and Anna. We have them there. What we can have here is display the last message, a snippet of the last message that was sent between these 2 people, right? And for that we can have, well, we can grab maybe the timestamp also. So last message timestamp, and we have a single column where you can grab the last value of our relation in this case, which is going to be that one, messages rel timestamp. We can duplicate this to grab the actual last message that was sent, right? So last message text, and we're gonna grab the actual message. Now, if the message is too long, it wouldn't look really good here if we had a tremendous message. So we want to truncate that message, and we can do that easily by creating a new column called last message trunk from truncated, and we can start typing truncate text message, and we can grab now the string, which is going to be the last message text, and maybe make it 75 characters long. And if we want to end with, 2 dots or 3 dots or something like that to show that it's been truncated, we will have that. And finally, if we want to make it a little bit pretty, we could also add a little symbol, like a little speech bubble symbol, right? And let me call that last message meta, and it's going to be a template column where we're going to add a chat bubble there, and then the actual truncated message, right? Boomba. There you go. And we can display that as one of the UI elements here under the description here, last message meta. Okay. Then we may wanna order the users with the most recent chat on top, and for that we can go to select the collection and go to options, and then under sort data we're gonna sort by last message timestamp from most recent to oldest, right? So now let's say that I get a message from Mike. I'm Anna, I get a message from Mike. Mike should go to the top. So we can do that right now by logging as Mike and then saying, hi, Anna, okay? And then if we log in as Anna, you should be able to see how Mike's last message pops to the top, okay? And there you go. This is how you create a private chat app using Glide. If you want to get a copy of this template, go to grumo.com/chat app. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.